of a one-sided victory there even. So
Yeah.
a little bit unfortunate series there for Orange Esports, but complexity, you know, again, as we've been saying a lot lately, it is complexity after all.
Yeah, well, the game 2 also, they tried a Myrmidon, like, pseudo tri-lane. It just did not work out at all. I'm a big fan of Myrmidon. It's a very fun hero to watch. It's hard to draft him, though, when you don't have very many point stuns. The only kind of stun reliable stun they had to work with was Pebbles, and that's not even a reliable stun, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's unfortunate. But this match, I think the players actually are ready to go. So it's going to be a lot of fun. tdM versus TT Esports, of course. Yeah. So any words you have before we jump into this?
Yeah, I mean, again, it looks like it's kind of funny. You said it looks like the teams are ready to go. A little bit of tdM specifically, not maybe the happiest about the overall decision, but it looks like it is going to be on a US West server at least to start. And I believe that is going to be the case for all 3 games, if it so happens to be. But both teams are officially ready. The countdown has started, and we are now jumping into what is game number 1 here between TT Esports and Trademark Esports here in this best of the 3 series. So let's go ahead and jump into the game. Of course, this is the winners bracket semifinals here, coming at you on Honcast.com. Hopefully, like I said, we've been off for a couple of days here with Honcast in this tournament, but now we're back, and we got a doubleheader coming at you. So we're going to stress that. It's not only this. After the series, we're going to be jumping into another one for the losers bracket where we will have our first elimination of the tournament between Pikachu and 15. So another good series set to happen right after this matchup. But enough about that. We're focusing on this one, of course, between these 2 very, very, very good teams. So like I talked about, again, I really am completely undecided on who I ultimately think is going to win the series because both of these teams are very deserving, and I wouldn't be surprised to see either one of these teams get that invite, like I said, to the DreamHack Winter event. So the locking phase hasn't even started, though. The blind band's taking place. We had Keeper of the Forest Plague Rider coming out from Trademark, and then Ophelia and Wild Soul coming out from TT Esports. So the blind band's here, Trev.
I think TT Esports has done their homework. I think they realize that tdM is a team that really, really, I don't want to say abuses. Okay, I'm going to say they abuse the fact that Wild Soul is so powerful in that suicide lane. And Zai does a really, really good job of constantly pulling the creep wave to him safe so he can farm it safely. At the same time, he's pulling the creep wave and then using his bear to scout out any potential ganks. And it's basically, it's a suicide hero that gets like a 20-minute mock. I mean, that's what it is. It's really, really hard to deal with. That also pushes towers if you turn your head for just a couple seconds.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. So and they go ahead and do blind ban that. And the locking phase has begun, and we got Tundra, of course, is there locked for tdM. They are in the first position, so I expect to see that probably picked up by them, as well as Tempest, Bubbles, and then Wretched Hag and Gemini. I think Gemini is just kind of one of those throw out. Let's just throw something random out there. Locks.
Yeah, Minut's, of course, the captain for Trademark Esports. He specifically seems to be one of these captains here in the lockpick mode that likes to occasionally put that trollish lock in there. And even TT Esports, they respond with kind of their own, of course, in Shadowblade. And I'm a little bit more hesitant to say that's completely trollish lock because, yes, we actually have seen him in competitive play in certain situations, but more likely a case of TT Esports just kind of responding to that Gemini lock there. So, but you look at the first 4 heroes with the Tundra, Tempest, Bubbles, and Wretched Hag, you would think, by all means, those are 4 very, very confident heroes for either one of these teams that they can go ahead and go with. So the fact that we have 2 kind of more quote-unquote trollish locks, not really the biggest deal for either one of these teams in the end.
I think Tempest is going to shine here this game, with Ophelia being banned, with Parasite being banned, and with Tundra as kind of like that definite first pick. I feel like it's going to be that definite first pick for tdM. I really think that Tempest is going to have his place here and do a lot for whoever decides to pick him up. I might even say it's arguable to actually pick Tempest over Tundra this time, just for how powerful of a jungler he is, and with the other junglers being banned. So we'll have to wait and see. But the bans have begun. Parasite, Jereziah, Meraxis, Fade, Draconis. Very, very standard bans, actually. Those are the heroes that have really been seen, that have had a lot more popularity in the last couple of weeks. But there are still quite a number of hard carries. There's that Dark Lady, there's that Magebane, there's that Silhouette. And then lots of very, very strong support still around, still available. Glacius, Luna, and Amphora. And there's the Pebbles ban, final ban coming out from Slicks.
Yeah, that's definitely, of course, a solid choice there. But like you said, the support classes really, I mean, that's the thing that stands out to me. None of the support really banned in that banning phase or even locked up. I mean, you got the Amphora, the Luna, the Glacius. So you got a lot of powerful choices here for both these teams when it comes specifically to that support role. Polywalk Priest, though, is going to be the first pick here for Trademark Esports, and you've talked about this a lot lately. Limp specifically plays an awesome Polywalk Priest, And I wouldn't be surprised to see that once again here coming out from Trademark Esports. So a good first pick for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Polywog is such a great mid. And again, you're right. Limp plays a very, very good Polywog Priest. It really seems like I never see a ward trap missed on him. And so good job by him. Glacius, Torturer, they're picked up by TT Esports. That's very TT Esports-esque. They really, really do love their Tort. Glacius, of course, is a strong support for any team. So it's not like it's just partial to them. But yeah, that's very, very strong. That tells me they're probably going to do something aggressive with Torturer, with Glacius. I don't think that they're going to run a support Tort when they already have a Glacius. We'll have to wait and see, though. But the picks are continuing. There's a Luna. There's Dark Lady. Very, very standard. Probably going to see that a Luna Dark Lady in the short lane. Polywog mid. Maybe even a... Here's the great thing about these locks and coming out for tdM's lineup so far is they have a number of suicide heroes to work with. They can work with Tempest. They can work with Bubbles, of course. They can even work with Tundra. They could even work with Hag, but I hate it. I think it's horrible. But we'll have to wait and see. The important thing is that they have options.
Yeah, and I was going to say for TT Esports, there are no carries really other than the Gemini and Shadowblade in that pool, so it's going to be interesting to see their final regular pick here. And sure enough, it is Forsaken Archer. You talk about very TT Esports-esque. Forsaken Archer definitely fits that. Tempest, the first pick out of the lock pool there for Trademark Esports, and it seems like, I couldn't tell, were you happy or?
I'm happy.
Okay, you're happy with that.
I really agree with that. If you remember, just a second ago I said I actually think that Tempest would have been a smarter pick over Tundra in this very rare case. And I really, really agree with my nuts right there, picking up Tempest. It's going to provide so. There's the Suicide Hag. That's the only thing they could have done because both Tundra and Bubbles were taken, so they had to go with that Hag.
A Shadowblade, Suicide.
It kind of, yeah. Well, it sucks. I think they're going to have to do a Suicide Wretched Hag. It's very, very weak, but it's a lockpick. You're going to have to take what you can.
Yeah.
So both lineups are great. Again, I love that Tempest pickup. He's going to get basically complete free farm in the jungle there. And one thing about TT Esports to talk about is they really do love Forsaken Archer. Slicks plays a great Forsaken Archer. They had Magebane and Silhouette on the board to work with, but they took Forsaken Archer over that. I just feel like it fits more of TT Esports' style of pushing, being more aggressive early on.
Yeah, he's definitely the more aggressive. I mean, you can argue Silhouette is going to be somewhat aggressive too, of course, with that earlier on Portal Key. But Forsaken Archer, really, when it comes to push, when it comes to setting up ganks and team fight potential, definitely is really all there for TT Esports.
Yeah, she has stronger lane presence early on.
Yeah.
The volley and the skeletons just is much better early on than a Silhouette. But of course, Silhouette with a Portal Key can be aggressive, but you got to wait till usually we don't see a Portal Key picked up till like after a Null Stone, so it's not till like maybe the 25 to 30 minute mark. But it's just Slicks. It's such a Slicks hero. So
yeah, it really is. I think back, obviously, again, doing this for a while. And, definitely games that stand out to me. I don't know the exact matchup, but I do remember a Slicks. I think at that time might have been playing for DWI or something like that. But him playing Forsaken Archer and the comeback that his team had because of him being on Forsaken Archer was just absolutely insane. So that's kind of one of those player-hero combinations, to me at least, that really stands out when it comes to heroes in here with a competitive history. Slicks playing Forsaken Archer. So yeah, definitely very, very a hero that they just love to run, and really no matter what happens to the hero, I'm sure will continue to run it. So obviously we are sitting in a pause here to get the game started. As I said, it is a US West server, and as soon as we come out of the pause, I'll go ahead and do a ping all for you guys to give you guys an idea of what we're dealing with when it comes to latency. Obviously, sitting in a pause doesn't do you too much. It kind of lies a little bit. But, so yeah, we'll get an idea once it comes out of the pause and see how things are looking for both of these sides. But as far as the lanes are concerned, looks like so far Insania going the boost ward and actually currently running towards the bottom lane very quickly here for Trademark Esports. So what do you make of this?
I'm not quite sure. I think maybe he just wants to... I feel like he's still going to sell those boots. I think he just wants to get there quickly to place the ward. And maybe they suspect with the lineup that TD Esports have is they're going to run an aggressive tri-lane in the long lane with Glacius, Tort, and FA. That's what they have to do, honestly. Now, at the same time, though, I see Bubbles rushing down here. He has a ward on him. He's using his Shell Surf to maybe get down there to block that pull ASAP. But I really feel like TT Esports would benefit a lot more from being aggressive. If they have two supports being Torture and Glacius, supporting a Forsaken Archer in the easy lane, those supports are going to get so gimped, and in the meantime, that's going to mean a very passive game. But in a passive game, when you have a jungler like especially Tempest, you're going to get massively outfarmed, especially the fact that you have Tempest being late game, and then you have the Dark Lady, who really is a superior carry, in my opinion, to Forsaken Archer. So I really hope, for TD Esports' sake, that they do man up and go this 3 aggressive tri-lane bottom. and kind of roam on this Tempest, apply some pressure to him, maybe set up some ganks mid on the Polywog, who is very susceptible to ganks already. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But Bubbles is going to come down here, I think. Let's see if he pours to the Shell Surf. The pause is it is unpausing. There he goes. So he's going to rush down there as fast as he can to place that ward. And yeah, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this just yet. Glacius hasn't bought items yet as well. He is sitting on a ward himself. Maybe going to place a ward over here on the top rune. But it does look like it is shaping up to be a very passive tri-lane here in the top. Maybe they're just setting up for dual lanes, but I've never seen really a dual lane Tundra.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not quite sure. I really don't agree with this. But actually, they're switching it up. So maybe they're playing some double mind games here because Dark Lady's up here in the top lane. I'm not quite sure about that either.
Well, we do see Bubbles. He is able to get down here, and he places the ward of sight without really much trouble. Luna was over here, but not able to do too much. And she, again, with that start that she had, so she got down here quickly, but then she didn't really do anything with it. So, yeah, a little bit interesting as to what they were thinking with purchasing the boots early on in the Luna and having to rush down there. But anyways, as you talked about, Noob G, who, once again, this has definitely been a player that's we've been talking about a lot lately as a really powerful carry player here on the competitive scene. He is going to be playing Dark Lady and currently setting up at the top lane. So, as you said, perhaps some double mind games even going on here. You got to wonder, though, you know, if this is really going to work out the greatest for TDM if they choose to stick with this. And for now, it looks like that's going to be the case. I mean, they're not getting really any information on why that should change. So we do have a Luna. She is actually running up here to, of course, support Dark Lady at the top side after placing a ward of sight here at the bottom rune. But they're going to run into what looks like to be a Torturer Forsaken Archer, at least off the bat. You talked about Glacius. So it looks like Whitelba may head it back up there, or may just like sit in the middle lane, depending on what happens. I don't know. So this is going to be a case of adjustments early on, I think.
I agree. I really feel like, well, if they see Glacius mid, if Glacius sits mid, they can actually, well, not really. They're going to have dual range against this lane up here, the Dark Lady of Luna. So I really do feel like TDM is going to have to switch. I feel like they will. And just, yeah, they should not have hack here against the Bubbles. This Dark Lady is going to take too much punishment. She's not going to get as much farm as she should. And then, actually, yep, already Glacius rotating top. They understand that the dual lane top in the long lane that's very susceptible to ganks. You never, ever see a dual lane like this in the long lane, especially with the carry. So I would expect some very, very quick adjustments from TDM. Otherwise, you know, this Dark Lady is going to get punished, as well as this Luna.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder. I guess so what TDM was kind of going for was they would see that aggressive trial in at the bottom lane, and that this would work out in the end. But obviously that didn't happen, as you talked about, so it ended up being a dual lane. But it seemed like the chances of that happening might have been very slim in the first place. And all this is doing now is that this is just going to force Trademark Esports to make a very early change. And you look at Dark Lady, she's already running all the way towards that bottom lane. So talk about missing a lot of farm opportunity early on in the game. Dark Lady will fall behind because of this. So a little bit of definitely a risky play here right off the bat from Trademark Esports that in the end didn't really pay off. So that's unfortunate for them.
It didn't. You should always. I feel like you should always start in the basic lanes and then switch up if you need to. It's like you said, perfectly. It's taking too much of a risk to try to mind game someone like that. Just take the easier and safer route is to throw that hard carry in your safe lane. Part of the beauty of Dark Lady is being able to farm safely against 3 in your short lane because of the hatchet, because of the Taint Soul. So yep, they're gonna make a full switch right here. Here comes the Luna. She's TPing down here. This is how the lane should have been to start with. But it's not the end of the world. Yes, they did lose a bit of farm, and Bubbles did get a free level 3 right there. But it's still a passive game, and it's going to be a passive game, and that always favors a jungler, especially Tempest.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's the good thing to bring up. But I think what you said right there near the end, though, Bubbles being a level 3 already, that's huge, of course, for TT Esports. Moravius, now he may start to fall behind a little bit, obviously, because of the switch up. But the fact that he even got level 3 as soon as he did is a very, very good news for him. And Aluna will need to be careful because of that. She can't just sit here and right-click auto-attack like she normally could at level 1. However, we do see initiation right here. Taint's only going to be used on the Bubbles, slowing him down quite a bit. Power Throw will connect, and you see Bubbles dropping pretty low. But in the middle lane, in the meantime, Wretched Hag came to the middle lane, set up a gank on a Tundra, and Bloodlust kill will come out in favor of Trademark Esports. So obviously watching the bottom action there, missed the middle, but Bloodlust kill for Trademark Esports. Good job at Wretched Hag taking advantage of the fact that she had to move, I guess.
Well, yeah, she's taking taking advantage of the fact that she got free level 3 in the short lane, and has that level 2 Sonar Scream. So it's not every day that you expect the level 3 Wretched Hag gank at mid at 2. And so Riser simply wasn't expecting that. He took too much harass early on for Poly, and then, good job by Side just realizing, I don't think I'm going to get too much of the top lane. I'm going to find something else to do here in the mid lane. Speaking of that, though, he does come in the top lane, and the lane is already waiting there for him to, soak up some experience and maybe a little bit of farm, getting some last hits there. So good job by him.
Yeah, that's not too bad of a start here for Zai, to say the least, especially with that what just happened right there. But it is going to start to be pushed back now. You see the what it looked like only single stack, but even managing to take it all the way over to the Skeleton King / Catman Soldier camp over here. So that's going to keep the creep lane pushed back quite a bit. So good job actually by Leon Black right there. Playing that torture, reducing the middle lane charge on a Polywalk Priest. Piercing shards coming out, dropping below half-life, but Glacius is not here. So Polywalk Priest should be fine. In fact, Tundra Blast even missed right there. Not too often you see a Tundra Blast missed from Glacius. Bubbles in the meantime at the bottom lane. Good starting stun by Aluna. She doesn't have enough mana for a power throw, though, and that could be the deciding factor here. She's going to charge up, but with no mana for a power throw, Bubbles will end up surviving in the end. So a lot of harassment coming out, but especially in that middle and the bottom lane, but we're still sitting on that one Bloodlust kill that happened at the beginning, of course, in favor of Limp on Polywalk Priest.
Yeah, one very, very big change that I have to note here, as you mentioned the pull coming out from actually Leon Black taking a lot of pressure from Hag. Hag does have boots as well as that level 1 haunt. This could be actually close. I actually feel like Torture might die here. Jumps in with the Sonar Scream, and he does get a kill. That is massively huge for Zai. Getting a kill mid. Actually, at the same time, action happening bottom. Moravis dies to, who is that? No, he actually gets a kill on Insania, but not after dying to Noob G there. So still a good job there. Noob G getting some farm. But yeah, Zai making some big plays here this game. Getting that kill. Actually, some roam coming out in the mid. Ward Trap onto Glacius as well. So Limp doing a good job there. Wow, lots of action happening very, very early on.
All three lanes taking place. We do see Piercing Shard's going to be used, but Polywalk Priest, of course, more than fine. So yeah, great reaction from Limp there in the middle lane. As he said, he just doesn't seem like he misses a Ward Trap. Well, another case right there, but both Suicide Heroes managed to get a kill. Yeah. Obviously, Bubbles, he died in the end, but he got the kill first. He got the experience for it, got the credit for it. Once again, he's going to be a little bit pressured right here. Luna's going to dive a little bit after the Shell Surf and even take the power throw, but look at the Song of the Sea coming out, and Bubbles looking to turn something, but with Dark Hoodie charging with now having those phase boots here, or Ghost Monsters, excuse me, she will have to fall back, and Bubbles will be fine. Damn you, Tralfamador! Damn you for no. Anyways, but yeah, this is definitely turning out to be quite the action-intensive game here, but it is a 4-1 hero kill advantage in favor of Trademark Esports, and the stats overall looking very good for them all around.
They're getting kills. It's a 4-1 kill lead. Actually, Slicks does manage to get a kill on Zai. Really good job from him. He does use the ultimate as well as that volley. So that's a very much-needed kill. So really good job by Slicks, keeping his team in the game right now. Bubbles, actually some action happening in the bottom. He's in a little bit of trouble. Dark Lady here is applying a lot of pressure, but Bubbles is going to be just fine. No, Dark Lady tries to turn around. The snipe actually comes out, but it misses. Very, very, very close. Actually, Bubbles, one thing to note, he does not have his take cover just yet, so it's not like he can dodge that either. He has to move and sidestep that, so to speak. So Beacon would be proud. Anyway, TteS is in the jungle. There's so many things I want to talk about, but there's so much action. Quickly, the top lane is being pushed very, very aggressively here from the TT Esports squad. Forsaken Archer, her skeletons, as well as the Impalement coming out from Torture. They get a very, very easy tower kill. But yeah, I wanted to mention here in the hard camp for Hellborn, there is a massive change. There's a giant cliff in between the lane and the actual camp now that has just been added this last Friday. It is no longer, you can no longer pull it into the lane. The only way you can do it is to stack pulls. So you pull the medium camp right here, the regular one, and then right as that dies, if you time it perfectly to pull that hard camp to it, that's the only way you can pull that.
As we saw Torture do earlier.
And another kill bottom, actually. Moravis takes out the support Insania. This is not what you want to have happen. The Suicide laners seem to be just taking over this game right now. Moravis already 2-1-0 in the Suicide lane.
Yeah, that's just kind of ridiculous. I do apologize. I'm missing a couple of the kills here and there, but I mean, it seems like action is not only happening, but it's happening so quickly. We do see another tower going down at the top lane. And in the meantime, in the middle lane, there is a little bit of pressure being put up by Limp right here. Are we going to see ports coming in with a vulnerability? It doesn't look like it. This tower will fall as well. Absolutely insane. 3 tower kills in total just happened right there. Several hero kills. I mean, this game is just going back and forth, really.
Yeah.
So many positives now for both of these teams. I mean, you do bring up a very good point about this hard camp up here. That's definitely very worth noting. Of course, happening on Friday. Haven't had the chance to talk about it just yet, but as we've already seen in this game, you know, having a little bit of an effect there. But the suicides, man, both Bubbles and Wretched Hag not doing too shabby here. I will say, when you look at the goal per minute and even levels, actually both are level 6, but goal per minute, Bubbles is managing 245 GPM compared to the Hag 164. So beating her by a good 80 gold per minute. So Bubbles is having the better time even between the two, and that's huge here for TT Esports, who, by the way, they also have the top farm in the game in Forsaken Archer, 420 gold per minute. Slicks is absolutely dominating here, already having another 1,900 gold saved up after Steam Boots and Ring of the Teacher.
Yeah, I think he's going to go for that Whispering Helm. I'm not quite sure. I usually see him go for a very early on Whispering Helm and just farms out in the jungle, stacks those Ancients with his creep if his supports aren't able to do that. And actually, Waitalaba, he could have stacked those Ancients right there, but he didn't do it. I'm not quite sure. He walked right by him and then walked away. So interesting play there. That you always want to stack your Ancients every single time you can. Utilize that farm very, very fast because it is a huge jump in gold and experience. So yeah, kind of questionable play right there. But Slicks, he's going to walk that back to base. He just buys a power supply, so he's not going to be able to have enough for that Whispering Helm if that's what he decides to go for. But yeah, bottom lane, Moravia seems to be doing very well on this Bubbles. The X factor here, though, is this TeTeS, who has a lot of farming experience so far.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about TeTeS just yet, but we see the bottom lane. Tundra was trying to initiate. The Shiver was in the front lines. They're going to catch Luna with the Calfield. The piercing shots. There's the Cold Shoulder, and down goes Luna. But at what cost right here? Tundra maybe a little bit in trouble. The TeTeS ultimate going to be used, but that chain reaction is going to stop my nuts in place right there on that TeTeS. We see the Avalanche coming out from Tundra, and TeTeS gets turned around on. Port coming in for Polywire Priest, though. The Ward Trap is successful on a Torture right there. Going to be taken out, but here comes Forsaken Archer. I'm going to see the Crippling Volley. Yes, it will hit the piercing arrows. A little bit of damage to Polywire Priest, enough for the kill. No, they are not. Wretched Hag jumps in, though, and she tries to go for a kill herself. Not going to be successful, but there's a lot of spread damage happening right now for both of these teams. Crippling Volley once again used just on the creep wave there for Forsaken Archer, but it looks like they want to pressure the tower. Look at Bubbles even thinking about diving onto this Wretched Hag, perhaps. He's going to blink away and be fine for now. Oh, nice Shell Surf port right there, and the piercing shot's going to miss. Will it be enough for the kill still? Yes, it will. Oh, Wretched Hag is going to live for now. Unbelievable getaway. One final auto attack. Lip comes in, but Lip may fall in the end. Yes, he will. The tower just out of range for damage. Bubbles is also going to be sniped out. And you see Aluna coming back in with the power throw. Tundra dropping low. Glacius now just trying to survive right here, being played by Talaba. And will he actually get away? Nice health push right there. He does have a homecoming stone, but he knows Aluna can stun, so not going to use it just yet. And Darkly in pursuit, but she will not be able to chase. Glacius will pour it out in the end.
Juked.
And that will be the finish of that fight. What a freaking fight right there.
That was crazy. Did Zai actually still end up living? Yes, he is living very, very, with very little HP. Some mention of servers, but, you know, that'll happen. Anyway, yeah, that was a really, really unfortunate ultimate there from Tempest. It really did nothing. I feel like if he actually placed it to where it was, like, going above, like the ultimate was kind of towards the right. I feel like if it was above, it would have been a lot harder for Torture to get in there and actually get that stun, but nonetheless, good job by Leon Black canceling that ultimate right away, and so it really turned the team fight for them. It's still a very, very strong experience lead here for tdM, as that, you know, of course, Mina's playing that Tempest. He is level 9.
Yeah.
Actually, Luna is getting gone on here right now, but Tundra is his ultimate. No, it actually is up. I feel like he could have used it right there. That would have been a very, very sure kill for them. Not quite sure why he didn't use it, but here comes the turn potential. Hag is here as well, and they have actually all 5 heroes down here. All in the meantime, by the way, Slicks is just farming up here. He does have his Whispering Helm. I did mention that. Even using that Catman Champion to help him farm. So
yeah, so he eventually picks it up, and he says, you know what? I'm done with being down there. I had my time. I'm going to go in and just continue to farm and just have a good time. So yeah, TT Esports, they're investing a lot down here, but as is tdM. I mean, as you mentioned, they all ported down here, so all of a sudden, now they're all down here. Now, you look at Noob G here on Dark Lady, it is affecting his farm somewhat. I mean, he still is 2-0-1. He's farming 330 gold per minute, which actually isn't bad at all. He has got a sustainer finish to go with his Ghost March. Again, typical Noob G there, going the Ghost Marches over the Steam Boots. But it's, you know, it is being slowed down a little bit because of all the activity that is going down. And you talked about Forsaken Archer in the meantime at the top lane, 385 gold per minute, and now going at it with that Whispering Helm pickup and going to defend this tower. We'll need to be a little bit careful there because look at Polywire Priest and Wretched Hag. Polywire Priest does have a haste rune, and he's going to use it right here. Forsaken Archer in a lot of trouble right now. Has no clue what's about to happen. There comes a Hex. In comes a Bat Blast. The wards go down. Not a trap. Not even necessary, though. And an easy kill on a Forsaken Archer, and the wards are in range of the tower. That's another big thing. They're also going to push this tower. Meanwhile, at the bottom lane, we do have initiation coming out. Kelfield will get the kill on a Luna down here, and Darkly would just have to fall back. But definitely an exchange Trademark Esports is very happy with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, they're getting kills on a Luna and really punishing. I mean, Luna's level 4, no boots, 0, 4, and 1. That's great, but I really feel like they're not getting enough out of it. You know, with your main carry dying, getting a tower push at the same time. I mean, if they did get this tower push to the bottom, I guess it's okay. It's kind of a 1-for-1, but it's an Luna for Forsaken.
Yeah.
So definitely tdM getting the better deal, but still TT Sports making something happen regardless.
Yeah, and that's again, it's at the very least, that's what you ask for. It's not like they just stood around with their thumbs up there, you know what, and just did nothing. But they did do something. They got a kill, and they got a tower kill, so at least made the best of it, you could say. But Slicks will go back to the top lane now and continue to farm. He is still ahead of Dark Lady by quite a bit. Now, granted, Dark Lady is a carry hero where once she gets the Rune Cleaver, she'll really start to take off, and she is getting very close to that. She has her first broadsword. Of course, needing the second one to actually finish the Rune Cleaver there. So we'll keep an eye on that for Noob G specifically with that item pickup. You see Limp in the meantime in the middle lane. A little bit of pressure, but he will fall back before too much happens. He has 1,200 gold saved out. Limp, by the way, is the top farm in the game. 406 gold per minute. It's definitely been around that 400 GPM plus for a while now.
Yeah.
So he's once again doing a great job here on Polywog Priest. You got to think a Portal Key. Very likely going to be next in line, and that's such a dangerous item to go up against if you're TT Esports here on a hero like Polywog Priest. It's pretty much a guaranteed kill, you know, whenever he gets a chance to use it, it seems like. So you got to be really careful about that now, too.
Now here comes the group up from TT Esports. This is what they like to do. This is why they like Forsaken Archer. A hero like Silhouette would not be able to do this. Be able to group up and push with the team and then have a lot of presence in team fights early. But they're going to have to wait for the next wave. And all in the meantime, if they're slow with this, they're going to lose out on a lot of farming experience. So if they're going to push this, they got to go fast. Because Darkly is farming her Rune Cleaver very, very shortly. Tempest farming in the jungle there. And actually, there's some harassment coming on to Poly. Here comes the TPs. Here comes the initiation. The Kelp Field as well as the Forsaken Archer. It does take out Limp. There's the ultimate. Actually was in animation there for Tundra. He does go on Tempest. Can they get him? Yes, they can. Minots does fall. Not before Leon Black dies to Insania. There's the ward trap onto who is that? Moravis dies. Actually, Bubbles is getting taken out by Limp. He does buy back. Important note there. Zai, he does take out Slicks. This is looking like a huge team fight for tdM. It was looking very scary at first, but that buyback played a huge role in that team fight.
Oh, yeah, that definitely did. I mean, the fact that Polywog Priest came back into that fight, I mean, he was a huge factor of the success for tdM, no doubt. And, yeah, that was by all means worth the buyback there coming out from Limp, as you said. So, huge turnaround there coming out from Trademark Esports. I mean, that was such a great start. Very good piercing arrows placement coming out from Slicks to start that fight. He didn't even land the crippling volley yet it did so much damage because he knew the angle that they were going to have to travel to try to get away from them in the first place. So that set up a very early kill, of course, on a Polywog Priest, but again, with that buyback, set up a nice turnaround for them. So yeah, great job by Trademark Esports, keeping calm in the fight and turning things around. And now a bigger thing on top of that, you could say, is that Dark Lady did just finish a Rune Cleaver. The second broadsword is being delivered, and you look at the jungle stacks, there are a couple going on here, at least the one that I looked at. So I guess really only a one right now, but the middle tower is taken out in favor of TT Esports, as you said. That's kind of what they like to do, kind of group up and push some towers earlier on. That is now their, 4 tower kills here in only 16.5 minutes. So that's the good news again for TT Esports. But now they have to deal with a Rune Cleaver Dark Lady, and you can expect that GPM to start jumping up quite a bit here.
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to mention that too. They had that whole team fight basically without TDL doing anything except farming. So it is a little bit later Rune Cleaver. We did mention the fact that the team fights were happening early on. Actually, Zai takes a little bit of pressure here from Forsaken Archer, but is going to be just fine. He blinks out and ports away. Actually, action in the mid still. Noob G is actually getting very, very close to death. There's the Tempest stuck in that Kelp Field. And there's the black hole. I'll let you take over, Breaky.
Tempest ultimate holding them down. The power throw coming out. Polywog Priest in the midst of it all. Tongue tag coming out of Bubbles. You see the chain reaction is going to be used trying to save them. Tempest is dropping quickly, but not enough for that kill. Tempest will barely survive. Torture going all in with tunnel vision, but it ain't going to happen. Massacre indeed in favor of Trademark Esports. All 5 stay alive. 4 people die on TT Esports. The only non-death was Slicks. And a big reason you could argue for that is because he's busy farming his own jungle in the meantime. So a hell of a Tempest ultimate right there coming out from Nuts, playing that Tempest, of course. And that, no doubt, set the tone of that fight right there.
There was no reason to be fighting there. I mean, I looked, they already got the tower, and then everyone was safe. Slicks was farming in the jungle. Things were fine. I know they were baited. They wanted to
Dark Lady.
Yeah, they were like, oh my god, we can get a kill on their carry right here, but it's not worth it. You already got what you came for. That tower there. Get back. Slicks is farming. He's not with the team. You're fighting way too far up. That was just a fight that they did not need to take whatsoever, and tdM capitalized on that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, and I think the big picture was the tunnel vision factor from TT Esports. They were so focused. They really wanted that kill on the Dark Lady. We even saw Tundra dive in a little bit far right there to launch out some piercing shards, hoping to snipe her out, which didn't even happen. And, with that positioning, it obviously set them up to be in a very poor placement going into that team fight. So, unfortunate circumstances there for TT Esports, and we are now looking at an 8,100 experience. And you kept stressing that throughout this game, and it's even that much bigger now, especially as a result of what just happened. And also looking at about a 2,800 goal lead. Again, not too significant, but it is still an advantage in favor of our Legion team. And I believe I just saw Polywire Priest, as I stressed earlier, picks up the portal key. So that's just another item now the Hellborn team is going to have to really worry for. Tundra, on the other hand, Tundra has also been having a pretty good game. We haven't really talked too much about Riser here on Tundra, but he's got his own portal key, and he's continued to farm very well himself. In fact, right now, even after that death, he's still farming around 355 gold per minute. So he, too, deserves some credit here for TT Esports.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree. We haven't given him enough credit. He's been doing a good job, has a decent amount of farm. One thing I did want to mention, though, is look at the levels. I mean, they're getting massively beaten here as far as the experience goes. And when you really look at it, this is what I was talking about at the very beginning. They had that kind of pseudo-tri-lane. Basically, they had two supports that are getting very gimped in experience, especially, being Glacius and this Torturer. And what you really do is compare one of those supports to Tempest, because that's basically what's being substituted. One of the supports for a jungler. And Tempest is level 12, one of the other supports level 7. It's massive. And I got to give a big shout-out a long time ago to Angry Testy. I used to play on SK Gaming with him. And this is I'm sure you remember, for the longest time, I want to say a year, the metagame was tri-lane versus tri-lane.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. Or dodge tri-lane.
Thanks for reminding me, asshole.
But I remember one day he was like, why don't people run junglers? He's like, it's basically a support that gets complete free farm. And we're like, yeah, you're right. And it was kind of that, not really that specific. Actually, Luna Power Snipe here does spot out Kongor, and Tundra's getting very dangerously low. They do get the Kongor kill, so very, very good job using that Hellborn position to their advantage. But yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to mention is that's when I think junglers started to get a little bit more popular. It's like, wait a second, it's support getting complete free farm in levels. So
yeah. Yeah, well, of course, with the introduction of heroes like Parasite eventually, and then Keeper of the Forest, and with the change that happened to him, he became more of a jungling-style hero. So, I mean, obviously, there's several factors involved, but that you could definitely, no doubt, that's kind of one of it where it's like, yeah, you're right. It's kind of one of these heroes that just does this free farming, and why not have that be successful? And sure enough, that really is, of course, just such a strong part and has been a strong part of the game for such a long time now. Of course, in the meta when it comes to competitive heroes on New Earth. But right there, talking about this game, the Conger kill, absolutely huge, of course, for TT Esports, as it always is, because on top of that, Forsaken Archer also just finished his Shrunken Head. So now, Forsaken Archer is going to be quite the factor here in these fights when and if they start happening. Now 21 minutes into this game. So some very good news coming out for TT Esports. Now overall, when you look at the stats, sure, they're still down by quite a bit. In fact, Abyssal Skull has already been finished now on NoobG. And you look at that gold per minute chart. Well, actually, I was looking at the experience per minute, so it threw me off a little bit. But still, even the gold per minute, it's still so even all throughout this Legion side, ranging from 326 to 395 at the top for those four heroes. And of course, Aluna's way down there, but again, it's Aluna. And, not the biggest deal in the world. So overall, as a team, things are looking very good here for Trademark Esports. And it reminds me a little bit, I mean, not that this is the same circumstance, but kind of a Complexity versus Orange. We talked about that game one and how, sure, there's that one hero that's doing very, very well. In that case, it was Mammon, I believe. Of course, in this case, it's Forsaken Archer. But as a team, Trademark Esports, a.k.a. Complexity for that matchup, just looks so much stronger and so much better when it comes to the numbers. And it's kind of the case here. So if you're TT Esports, obviously, I'm not saying that's going to be the same outcome by any means, but TT Esports is something they got to keep in mind. But they do have Forsaken Archer, who's continuing to be a farming machine, as Slicks obviously does most of the time. So
yeah, it's just really going to come down. I feel like if this does go late, of course you have the Dark Lady, of course you have the Tempest, who are very, very late game. But the bigger factor is you're going to have two supports being Torture and Glacius that are just going to be food. I mean, they're just going to die over and over. They're not going to be able to even start a team fight before dying immediately. That's the number one thing I'm looking at right now. So with that being said, they're really going to have to make something happen early. I mean, I feel like they should know they do not have the late game. whatsoever.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to make something happen, and just as I said that, they're pushing up in the bottom lane. They do still have that token, I believe, on, Forsaken Archer, who does now, by the way, have her Sharken Head, as well as another 2,400 gold. Slicks just knows where and when to farm, man.
I know, it really is crazy how he does it. But to stress on that point as well, it's not like, I don't think you're suggesting this either, that TT Sports hasn't been playing aggressive. I mean, they definitely have been. They have 4 tower kills, they have 10 hero kills. It's been a fairly aggressive game, but just to continue that momentum, to continue that pace is what they definitely need to do. So they are going to try right here. Meanwhile, at the top lane, Wretched Hag is pushing the top tower. She's got her illusions there with. They're going to deal a little bit of damage. Going to fall back for the meantime, though, but it's just going to be a matter of which team is going to blink first right here. Which team is going to port back. Now, speaking of blinks, of course, you do got that portal key on Tundra, but you also got the portal keys on Tempest and Polywog Priest, and obviously even Wretched Hag, who is still at the top lane and pressuring that. But there goes the secondary bottom tower kill, and I think TT Esports is going to be just fine with that happening. You see the players here for TDM. Dark Lady was also up here, actually. She was cleaning up the jungle even, of the Hellborn jungle, and she too will fall back. So a case of getting a tower kill and then getting the hell on out of there. So again, kind of keeping the pace going a little bit for TT Esports. But overall, I mean, especially if you're going to group up and push like that, of course, the experience advantage will continue to go up more and more in favor of Trademark Esports, as it did right there. They are now up by 10.5 thousand experience. The gold did go down a little bit, but the levels, man, they are really adding up here on Trademark Esports and just all across the board. Again, it's as a team. It's just not 1 or 2 specific heroes. Right. It really is as a team.
Yeah, no, TDM did a really good job and a really smart decision-making there. They knew they really could not fight that fight with that token. I mean, they maybe could have, just because of how much farm they had spread out, and how many levels they had over TT Esports. But they wanted to take the safer route. They don't want to fight against a token on Forsaken Archer, especially when she had her Shrunken Head. So what they did instead is they spread out the farm. They had both Wretched Hag and TDL farming out other places on the map, while the 5 members of the TT Esports squad were just all together pushing that bottom lane. So it actually was a fine trade, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually, I definitely see where you're coming from there, and it definitely makes sense for Trademark Esports. Now, Tundra, he did have the Shiver over here. He was spotting the double-stacked Ancients that Dark Lady was doing, but there's also support around, and you could tell that they really wanted to try to make something happen, but obviously it just wasn't going to, and it's probably for the better that they didn't commit to anything right there. But again, Dark Lady, she's just increasing in farm, as you would expect, like crazy, 430. Now, granted, again, Forsaken Archer still is just doing his work. Again, Slick's just a phenomenal player when it comes to this, especially 482 gold per minute. Still a good 50 gold per minute ahead of Dark Hoodie, even with that Rune Cleaver and Abyssal Skull. And we'll see what she goes for next. She does have the Warhammer purchase, so we'll see if it's perhaps that Shrunken Head or even something like a Savage Mace or even that Shield Breaker, of course, at this point in time. I mean, do you think Shrunken Head would make the most sense here for Dark Lady to pick up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yes, Tundra can ulti through that Shrunken Head, but still, you have things like the volley and the ultimate from Forsaken Archer does massive damage. Even the Glacial Downpour does massive damage. The Kelp Field is the biggest thing in my opinion, as well as that silence coming out from Bubbles. And by the way, Bubbles did pick up his portal key, so it's a great pickup for him. But yeah, I definitely think Shrunken Head is the safest and best route for Dark Lady this game.
We'll see. He needs, of course, I think it's, 2,300 since, he needs a pattern and a Mighty Blade. So 2,300, then he'll be able to purchase that. But in the meantime, that is the last outer tower to fall. And again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's TT Esports. They have been taking advantage of the lineup that they have. That's for sure. I mean, they got a great push team, and they already have 6 tower kills now, only 26.5 minutes into the game. So that's very good control by them. And again, you look at Slicks. He is nearly 500 gold per minute now. He's got the Firebrand finished. Another 2,700 gold saved up. Dark Lady did just purchase the Shrunken Head, by the way, so she went back and got that finished. So items are starting to be added up on both sides here. But again, it just seems like it continues to be slightly in favor, perhaps, of our Legion side. But I don't know anymore. I mean, the Hellborn team, you mentioned the portal key pickup on Bubbles, and Tundra continues to do very solid himself. He has 3,200 gold saved up, by the way. So, yeah, he's saving up for, I was wondering what his next item was. But, yeah, 3,200 gold, that makes sense with all that saved up. Now, they do have a token of life. It just wore out there, though. So right as I look at it, what do you think about that? Would you like to see them kind of forced to use it, or are you fine with them just letting it wear out?
I don't think they're strong. I mean, they did exactly what they needed to do. They pushed all the other towers. I don't even think with the token they have the power to push up into the base. But, TDM, I feel like they actually know exactly when that token is going out because they bought all their core items. Hag now has her Health Flower. Shrunken Head up on TDL, and they're pushing right now. They must know that this token's gone. They maybe wrote that on a notepad or something, but they know exactly what's going on. Well, also they can just see the hero right now, and know that she doesn't have a token. So this is their fight to take right now. They're definitely still up in golden experience, a massive experience lead, a small gold lead, but nonetheless, they have all their core items now on pretty much all their heroes.
Here we go. Initiation happening. Action on Polywalk Priest in the background. Shrunken Head activated by first second after Polywalk Priest will be picked off right off the bat. Will he buy back? No, he cannot. We see Dark trying to do some work. The Tempest ultimate will pull it. Bubbles also porticated. The Bat Blast on top of that, and they're going to get absolutely destroyed. Once again, the Tempest ultimate plays such a huge role in these team fights. Torture will fall, and Glacius is like, yeah, I'm going to port back to base. Nothing more I can do, and this tower will get destroyed. What was yet again such a solid start there for TT Esports ends up being a complete dominating finish for Trademark Esports behind the Tempest ultimate.
Yeah, that was a great ultimate by Minots, but at the same time, I really got to say, Bubbles blinked into it with his Kelp Field up. He could have simply, I mean, there's no Shrunken Head on Tempest. He could have simply, boop, Kelp Field, and it would have been canceled immediately, but he blinked into the ultimate, so a really, really unfortunate misplay there coming out from Moravis. It really was. Nonetheless, even if he did cancel it, I still feel like that disjointed all the comboing, all of the synergy coming out from the Hellborn team. I still feel like they would have fallen that team fight, but being able to hold that full ultimate on 3 heroes like that was definitely huge for that, that length of time.
Well, that shows you also how scary this Legion team is. I mean, the fact that, again, the Hellborn team got such a good jump on a limp right there on Polywalk Priest, they burned it before. I don't even think he cast an ability. He was locked down the whole time and eventually just got taken out. The fact that they can pick off a player like Polywalk Priest going into these team fights and still lose as strongly as they did, I would be a little bit worried if I'm TT Esports, to say the least. And that kind of goes, Shrunken Head, as a powerful item as it is, when you're dealing with the Tempest Ultimate, it don't do you too much while you're caught in the midst of it, especially with a Dark that is just pounding damage onto you. And when they got synergy like a Wretched Hag especially, she landed a very, very beautiful Bat Blast. Of course, the Tempest Ultimate sets it up so nicely, but she got in all 3 heroes. The Shrunken Head was down by that time, I believe, on Forsaken Archer, and it just helped burn right through them, as well as the Rune Cleaver, of course, on Darkly with the Dark Blades active. I'm sure that definitely did quite a bit itself. So, yeah, TT Esports, and I think they can definitely feel it a little bit more. They are starting to fall more and more behind. You see them as soon as they resurrect, they're already in the Legion jungle. They're going to try to make something happen here, try to get a pick somewhere. They know that they need to make something happen, but it is starting to look like a pretty comfortable lead now in favor of Trademark Esports. But speaking of making something happen, they're going to jump Tempest down here. He does have a tablet of command. He's going to try to tablet away. The Kelp Field, though, will keep him in place, and down he goes. So there's definitely a start for TT Esports as far as making something happen. We'll see now if they're going to commit to any type of push, or they'll just be happy with the kill and fall back and farm.
Yeah, I don't think they can push. Also, Tempest does have a buyout. Maybe they want to try to, bait out the buyout. But no, actually, Kongor has just respawned. So they're going to get that kill. They're going to march over to Kongor right now. And I think they're going to take it unless Minus decides to buy out right now. But this is going to be pretty much a free Kongor to kill for them. So that's exactly what they need to jump back into this game. They're at a massive deficit right now. And actually, Aluna does get that power time. There's the buyback from Minus. They do want to contest this Kongor. But they got to go fast because Kongor is actually dying very quickly, much faster than I expected.
Yeah.
And they got to get over here fast before it gets killed. Otherwise, that's kind of a waste of buyout. But TT Sports realizes Minuts did buy out, so very successful buyout coming out from Minuts.
Well, but that's the question. I mean, you could argue that that's good for TT Esports because it did force a buyback from Tempest there, and it did get him to use a good amount of gold, and one of the 2 buybacks as he has. I'm sure you could argue that I guess the Kongor kill in the might be more worth than getting him to use a buyback. But
I think it is. I think having that token on the Hellborn team when they're down so much, you don't want to give them any kind of sign of life. He still has 1 more buyback available. He also has the ultimate up and ready to go. Now, yes, it does. The bad thing about it is not that he wasted a buyback, but that he's not as close to his Shrunken Head now. That's the big downfall. So, in that, if you look at it that way, yes, I guess it is a small victory for TT Esports, but I feel like just preventing that Kongor is a bigger deal.
Oh, here we go. Polywalk Priest jumping in, but he Ward Traps an illusion right there. Oh, little did he know. Polywalk Priest is dropping out. Tundra comes in with the avalanche, but there's another good Tempest ultimate. It's not being canceled. Locking down Forsaken Archer. He does have the Shrunken Head up, though. You see Torture tableting over the edge, going to the Kongor pit. Nobody dead just yet. We finally seen a kill on Sania. Wretched Hag blanks in, though, and sets up a double tap kill right there in the midst of it all. We see Glacius and Torture just running away, but yet again, another 1 fight for Trademark Esports. Polywalk Priest ended up living, by the way. I find that pretty crazy. You see Glacius actually dying right there as he gets picked off in the end. So the only survivor is Torture. And Trademark Esports is starting to get a little bit too overwhelming now. Once again, a TteS ultimate that held him down for the full duration, I believe. Forsaken Archer and Torture just did nothing throughout all that. And they're also going to get Conquer on top of it.
This ultimate just simply needs to get canceled. I mean, he doesn't have a shrunken head yet. Again, Bubbles, he did use a kelp pill, but it was so late. It was just way too late to actually prevent any kind of critical damage coming out from that. So really unfortunate. I mean, he can cancel it. He's not the only one. There's other people to cancel it, but you need to designate someone else. And actually, there's the GG coming out from Slicks, and that will be game 1. So tdM does take game 1 in this best out of 3 series right now. So they're looking really, really good to take the series and meet Complexity on in the winners bracket finals.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised at all by that concede there. I mean, you could just tell they were losing the steam, they were losing momentum in that game, and as you put it, especially going into that mid to later game stage, it was just going to start getting bigger and better for Trademark Esports as a team, and that definitely showed. So they took some risk as they really kind of needed to. They tried to go for that Conquer kill. They got initiated near that Conquer pit, and again, another solid jump. They were the ones to initiate yet again. Weren't able to capitalize in the end, though. Minouts on TteS, he had some fantastic ultimates throughout that whole game, of course, but as a team, Trademark Esports really did look that good, and they deserve to be up 1-0 now, but again, it is a best out of 3 for a good reason, and like I said, not only do I not know who's going to win the series, but I would not be, at the very least, surprised to see a Game 3, so TteS Esports, they got some chance to come back here and force that third and final game, of course, Ralph.
Yeah, definitely. I really just like the draft coming out from tdM. I really feel like it was superior. I talked mostly about how the fact that you're trading a GIMP support for a completely free farm jungler, and especially when it's TeMPest. I mean, in Minot's TeMPest, he played it very solid. It just worked out well. And also, that game was kind of, at least the early game, was run by these suicide heroes being both Hagen and Bubbles. It was really fun to watch. One of the funner games to watch, in my opinion, as of late. So good job by them, especially Zai. He picked up the kill early on the Bloodlust in mid. Like I said, you don't really expect a Wretched Hag to be ganking for you in the mid lane at level 2 in minute 3, something like that. He got the kill there in the mid, went top, got a kill at the support right there. He did die to Forsaken Archer afterwards, but just overall well played by tdM.
Yeah, Slicks, he did his best to obviously hold him in there for his team, but in the end, just clearly not enough. Now, something you do talk about, Slick specifically, maybe question a little bit shaky sometimes when it comes to his drafting as a team. You think they drafted just fine this game, though? Wasn't really an issue for TteS Esports?
Well, no, I didn't quite like the draft. And I guess to say I didn't really like how they laned it. Okay. Having that passive laning with the 3 supports in between top and mid just didn't work out. If you're going to do anything, you need to be aggressive, go against the lane. Now, of course, they did... tdM did have kind of a mismatch there. They did some double mind games and then threw TDL top for some reason. And that didn't work out. But nonetheless, they needed to be aggressive with their laning because they're playing against a passive jungler. And it just didn't work out for them that way.
All right, so game number 2, though, a completely new game here. Cannot wait to see what happens with that. We are going to take a quick break, of course, and we'll be right back with game number 2 between TteS Esports and Trademark Esports here. What's going to break a CPK? Joining me is Drop Motor. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.